Like a Samantha, Sabrina kind of witch, or like the ones that run around in the woods, with their boobs out, sacrificing things?
Wait, they do? I need to watch some witch movies.
Welcome to the Two Authors Chat Show, an entertaining podcast with two best-selling authors connecting readers with an eclectic array of distinguished guests through lively conversation and interviews. Hosted by mystery, suspense and thriller writers Douglas Pratt and Nicholas Harvey.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Hello, Doug.
Hello, Nicholas. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm going to flaunt this at the rest of the country because I'm in the California sun.
Yeah. I mean, today's actually like 60 here in Memphis, so it's actually pretty. So,
well, that's not nearly as much fun. You're supposed to say it's miserable and cold and.
It's gonna get cold and miserable, but today's a little reprieve from all of that.
Gotcha. It's been lovely here. We actually went. I gave myself the afternoon off on Sunday, and we went down to Dana Point to Salt Creek Park and sat in there, had a picnic, and watched the surfers in the ocean, and looked at Catalina. And there was a bunch of boats offshore, because the orcas have been hanging out offshore here, which is bad news for the dolphins. The orcas don't eat dolphin-free tuna. They eat dolphin. So it's tough on them. But
sound like football match or some sort. Like, I don't watch football, so yeah. It's all exciting and everything. So we just talk about the orcas. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, you just had a book out this week too. How's your Lighthouse Point?
Yeah, Lighthouse Point came out. It's done. It launched really well for me. Yeah,
That's
really well.
Awesome.
Yeah, so really happy with it.
I've just started it, and because I'm cramming for a deadline myself, I haven't gotten very deep into it, but I'm gonna get reading on it. So far, I'm enjoying it.
Cool.
But I always do, because AJ Bailey is she's my book writer.
Yeah. She's pretty cool. We got a question?
We do have a question, and it is from your neck of the woods, somewhere not in California, but where it's probably cold and rainy in the UK.
Well, that covers 11 months out of the year in the UK.
Yes. From Lily, who's probably she's probably sitting here listening to you going about raving about your sunshine. She would like to know, if you had to write in a different genre, not in the one you're currently on or adjacent, what would you choose and why?
Ooh.
So I guess because we write kind of action thrillers, let's just take out mystery thriller. You're not writing in mystery
thriller.
Suspense
thriller is pretty much off the table, right? So let's think. Wow, sci-fi. I'd love to write sci-fi, actually. I would love to write sci-fi. And I think this would be my mistake, because I think I could probably write a pretty good sci-fi book. And it's such a cliquey, tropey genre. I would get it all wrong. And it would get panned, I bet. But it'd be fun to invent all that stuff.
I will say, I actually have a sci-fi series that does nothing. It's under a pen name. So everybody's out there looking for it. It's J.P. Douglas.
I didn't even know that. That's how well you hide it. I didn't even know it.
It's not that it's embarrassing. I actually had a lot of fun writing it. It just doesn't sell at all. So I was like, I couldn't keep doing it. It's kind of, but it was fun to do. So I'll take that one off the board as well. I think I would probably have to say, if I could write in anything, I mean, come on, romance.
I just couldn't do it. I don't think I can do it.
Oh, I don't know. Something like a Nicholas Sparks kind of
yeah.
Not like something steamy and sexy, but just,
Nah, I can do that.
Good, sweet, high school romance, small town feel. I could probably squeeze something at that. Something like a Hallmark. Something like Jillian Dodd does, or,
I couldn't do that.
I don't know if I could do sports romance, but I could squeeze out something like that. I'm very happy with where I am, so I'll probably stay where I am.
All right. So look out, people. Doug's going to be writing a sci-fi romance next week.
Sci-fi romance. Oh, the sci-fi romance is sci-fi erotica with the tentacles.
Oh, don't get started on that again.
Hey, so this week we have New York Times and USA Today best-selling author. She's a really awesome lady. She's mystery, thriller, suspense. She writes kind of cozies and, a little bit of everything. She's so talented. But Miss Cheryl Bradshaw. And welcome to the show, Cheryl. Glad to have you with us, and congrats. I think you have a new release just came out yesterday, right?
Yep. I have a novella, and it's the sixth book in my 7 Deadly Sins kind of a Sloan Monroe spinoff series that just released. So that's been really fun to have a release last month and then another one this month. Good start to the year.
Ooh, rapid releasing. You're hammering them out.
Better with that, honestly.
Well, give us a quick background for everyone that's listening on how you got into writing and a little bit about your career.
I wanted to write a book. I've always wanted to get into writing novels and writing mystery. I'd said I was going to do it for years, but the way it all started is that I had a blog for aspiring writers, and I would invite on the most famous traditionally published authors that I could get to come on, and just all they had to do was give their advice on what they would tell writers just starting out, which was great advice for them and also for me as I was writing my first book. And so through that, I made some friends here and there in the business, in the trad world and in the indie world. It took me a year to write my first book after I spent a year researching how to write mysteries and write them well. And then just kind of went from there. And here we are, 2011, many years later.
You actually did it intelligently. You researched it and looked up how to do it. I didn't. I just sat down and started writing when I decided. And then I started looking up, how long's this supposed to be? I don't know. I Googled it.
Yeah. She's a woman. She's smarter than we are right off the bat.
That's a given.
So,
that's a given.
I mean,
a woman with OCD.
With OCD, I do find that helps. I mean, Nick is loaded with OCD, so he's really, really organized. I am not, so I'm all over the board like a pinball. So it does seem to help.
I have surprise attack OCD, so it's nowhere to be seen, and then I get buried in something, and then it jumps in like a freaking ninja, and I realize I'm in a mess, and then it takes over for a bit.
I know what that's like completely.
Do you find we joke about these rabbit holes that we fall into? Do you get into these research rabbit holes where you'd be like, oh, I need to research, how to kill somebody with a knitting needle, and then you go on for suddenly you're into this whole subreddit and you're like, holy cow, I didn't know they made these kind of knitting needles. Yeah,
I feel like some things that I research mostly for accuracy purposes, because we all don't want the dreaded email that's I'm actually in the FBI and
right.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I actually did get an email from someone from the FBI, and I was panicking, but she said that everything I'd written was perfectly the way they would have done it. So I was like, oh, but I do think when I go down a rabbit hole is when I start researching something that's fascinating to me. And then I want to just spend the rest of the time finding out more about that topic. It's usually something to do with forensics. And I could read about that stuff all day long.
I have a question for you then. So when you're writing and you come across something that you need to look up, do you write placeholder there or check this, or do you immediately have to go look it up before you can move on?
A lot of times I will look it up because I'm a pantser, so I don't plot out my books. I just am off the cuff. Whatever I sit down and whatever the characters want to say and wherever they want to go, well, that's where we're going. And so I will stop most of the time unless I have the rest of that chapter all figured out in my head and I'm worried if I go away from it, I'll lose it. Then I will finish it and then go back.
Okay. And you are full pantser. You don't you don't plot anything out. You don't make any notes. 100%.
I think about the first chapter, and I pretty much have an idea of what I want to happen in chapter 1, and I have no idea what is going to happen after that. And a lot of times in my books, I will also change the murderer at about 80% in and go, well, you know what? Now that I've read over the whole thing, I actually think this would be much better than what I had originally thought that I was going to do. And that's pretty fun. It keeps it really surprising for the readers, and they like that, because they love not being able to figure out who done it in the end.
Yeah, no, I got to jump in.
That's the same question.
Yeah, it's the same one. I'm in the middle of it, right? So it's happening right now with the book I'm writing right now, which is a secret no one knows about. And but
you're terrible at keeping secrets.
Well, it's not like anyone listens to this. We're good. So. So do you get, do you start the book and you've got this idea, and at the end, you've got a bad guy figured out and everything else, and then you switch and that bad guy is not a bad guy anymore? and it's somebody else that did it? Have you done that?
I'll usually make that person somebody that's a person of interest, but leave it sort of open to where I can change it if I need to. And then I'll just go back through and like make the changes that need to be changed to make certain people look more or less guilty if I, just whatever works for the book. And I actually had a reader who just told me she's read every single thing I've ever written. And there is only one book she figured out who it was before the end. And that is the goal, is it not?
That is good. That is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I have to ask. So I'm working my way into being more of a plotter, but I was a pantser for a long time. And I would often find that I would write myself to a point where I'm like, what am I doing now? Like I've got him out and, I put him in another situation that I didn't think about how to get him out of, And so how many times do you find yourself like just backing yourself into a corner and going, all right, now I got to fight my way back out of it? So.
When it happens, it always happens in the middle of the book.
Yes.
The dreaded middle.
The middle is, I wish I could say to someone else, write the middle. I will write the first and the end. Once I get past that point of confusion where I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, is this person the best one for the murder? Is this one the best person? Should I change my mind? Once I get past that and I have a clear direction, I write the end of the book faster than anything else. I just have to get past that murky middle part, but I do have points where I have to just take a break and maybe go do business stuff and think about it and figure out how to dig myself out, as you're saying. It's exactly like that.
Okay, I've got another rabbit hole question. So this happens to me all the time. When I first started writing, I used to, in my first few books, write the first bit of it. I'd be about 20,000 words in, and I know I'm going to end up I want to end up about 70. And I'm looking at it, and I've sort of plotted out a little bits and pieces in it, and I'm looking at it going, I have no clue how I'm going to turn 20,000 words into a whole book at 70,000 words. And it happened for the first 5 or 6 books. I'd have this mini panic around the same stage. So then I got over it, and now I just ignore that little panic. And now I know that I have to target, if I want to write 70,000 words, I have to target 60,000 words. Because as I get towards the last third of the book, all of a sudden it starts running away. And you know how we all talk about, it writes itself, it gets galloping. So as a pure pantser, do you find those things happening?
That's one thing.
She's better. She's like, I'm good. I don't have that problem at all. What are you talking about? Y'all are idiots.
I have a lot of other problems, areas that I don't think I'm great at compared to other authors, but that's an area that I've always been all right with pacing. So, and but I will say I do the same thing as you. I try to get it to the 50-something thousand word. And then because I know when I do the last read through, I'm going to add a minimum of 5,000, because then I have the whole story. The whole story is now finished. I now understand what the whole story is, and I know what needs to be filled in a little bit better.
I gotcha.
Awesome. Yeah. So how long does it take you to do that final read through then? Do you like just sit down and read it all the way through, or do you more meticulous about it? So.
Again, with the OCD, it takes me longer than it should. I am line by line. I feel like I'm my own line editor when I'm in that zone. If something needs to be fiddled with or play with, I do it for way too long sometimes. But I also am on deadlines with editors and so forth. And so I can't allow myself to stay in that zone for too long, or it's just never going to get all the way read through. So they're long days, but they're fun days.
So now you also just moved back from Australia, did you not?
I did. So, I've been back for about 3 weeks. So yeah.
Back on a closer time zone. We were like trying to figure out how to.
I know it was really
across the world.
I'm in my parents' house in Silver Reef, Utah. It's like an old mining town. Really, really cool out here. It's beautiful. Like deer walk around the backyard, and we've got a whole bunch of wild turkeys. There's posse of those. There's about 25 of them. I just sit here. You can't see because you're seeing into the kitchen, and I watch out the window while I'm working, and all kinds of stuff just crazily goes by, snakes, what have you. It's great.
Jen last week picked up the camera and walked us around. Like she was nuts. I was like, oh, wow. That's like, yeah, she was showing us all her deer that
it's
she's
crazy.
Trained.
Yeah.
So.
I'm here in their Utah house, and because it's just empty, and they don't really live here anymore, and they're in their Arizona house, so it works out perfectly for doing a podcast quietly, as I am alone.
Oh yes.
So, what took you to Australia? Are you from California originally? I believe
I am. I was born in Covina, but I was raised in a little town most people have never heard of called Tehachapi. So that's Southern California, kind of in between Mojave and Bakersfield, mountain town.
I'm in Orange County right now. So,
yeah.
and my wife and I lived in this area for most of the time I've been in America. Most of the time, not all of it, but
yeah. Okay. I went to Australia. It was a bucket list thing for me to go to another country by myself, with no one else. And I'd never done that before. I'd been to other countries, but not alone. But I didn't want to go crazy and go somewhere where I couldn't, if I got mixed up with language and couldn't talk my way through it. So I kind of made it, and I had a friend at the time who said, I know exactly where you need to go. You need to go to Cairns, Australia. It is the Great Barrier Reef. It is the rainforest, both within 15 minutes. So I went, and then I just kept going back. And then I made a whole bunch of friends over there, and I've just been going back and forth. I had been going back and forth for 5 years, but over the Novelist Inc. to the last of the 20 books conference between September and November, I had been thinking it was probably time for me to come home. So here I am.
And
so did you do some diving?
Yeah, diving. We're both divers.
We're going to talk diving.
Yeah. Great Barrier Reef.
All my friends are divers, and I did take some lessons, but my very last one, my equipment malfunctioned, and that it was sort of like a fight or flight situation, and I freaked out. So I got a little nervous to dive after that, but I did get past it. And on that same dive, a minke whale and her, what do you call the baby one?
Calf.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Swam right in front of us, right in. I could.
Oh,
that's cool.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I've seen things over there that I'm sure I'll never see again. Just amazing.
Really cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've been to Australia and I've been diving there, but down by the Gold Coast, which is tropical waters, but not like the Barrier Reef. So one day we'll make it over there and go diving there.
Oh yeah, you'll love it.
I've never been. My sister lived in Australia for a little bit, but I've never been. I need to. It's on my bucket list.
Oh,
as well,
it is fantastic. If you need a tour guide, you go to Cairns.
All right, let's go. All right, I'm ready to. We can book this trip now. I mean, we can all, Cheryl's probably like, I'd like to stay here for at least a minute before I go back.
We're writing a series together, and it's missing in. The first one was missing in the Keys. The next one's missing in Zanzibar, which we're writing at the moment. And so we keep thinking about where we're going to go missing next. We've got to do research. So maybe missing in Australia. That would be,
that wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
I actually worked out. So at the time, I was just starting my new series, but I was phasing out my original series, which was the very first series I wrote. And I did set 2 books in Cairns, and it was really fun, except you have to go through all the loopholes of not using any weapons, no weapons.
Oh, right. Yes.
That was a real challenge, a real challenge.
That's so funny, that being a challenge, right? As writers of thrillers and mysteries, we've got to have things to shoot people. Yeah. Wait, there's a country where they don't shoot each other? What am I going to do?
You can't carry anything in your vehicle or on your person, which is impossible, that can be used as a weapon, which anything can be pretty much used as a weapon. You can't carry pepper spray or anything, nothing. So you kind of just have to have ninja skills.
It's John Wick who killed the guy with the pencil, right?
You can anything in your car could be. Well, lots of things could be weapons.
I mean, a tire iron. That's crazy.
Okay, I've got a question that you've sort of alluded to a little bit. You wrote 2 books based in Cairns because you were there. Have you found that being in that different environment and culture has changed your writing style, or has it introduced, widened, done anything different to your writing?
I think the biggest change with living there for as long as I did was understanding how readers from different countries, what they liked as far as indifferent from what maybe a American reader. And even more than that, if I tested graphics or covers the one that was number one over in America was never the one that they would pick over in Australia. So I kind of had to learn how to, I never really gave it that much thought, but now I understand. Like I remember seeing a bunch of covers Stephen King had for one of his books, and it was all different from every country, and I didn't really get it, but now I do. Every country has something a little different that is appealing to them for the genre that they read in. It's not the same. So I started incorporating that with my books as well.
That's amazing. I never even would have thought of that. So that's a great point. And have you built quite an audience in Australia and New Zealand now?
I did. I actually worked with someone over there that was a publicist for last year, and I started targeting them as well as far as ads and marketing over to Australia. And I just think I think there are a lot of markets like that outside of the US that are not being targeted as much. It worked really well for me, and I've built quite a good audience from there. Even given their size, I have a pretty decent Australian audience. I remember meeting with a Kobo rep, and it was probably right before COVID, and she said, "Can you explain to me why your Australia sales have gone up by 800% in the last year?" I said, "Yes, I can. I live there now."
Well, then, have you tried to take that with and direct it at other countries besides Australia, like Germany or
a little bit? I had a ghost mystery series that I just wrapped a couple of years ago, and I actually had it was all translated into German by a German publishing company. They did a contract with me for that, and so that helped me understand that market a little bit. But don't you feel like there's always so much more to learn about the other markets? It really took me living in Australia to go, oh my gosh, they don't think like us. What?
So you have several series too. So we kind of jump off of that, but you have like 5 series, is that right? And some standalones, or
I have 3 main series, but the first series I ever wrote was the Slow Monroe series, and there are 2 spin-off series to that series. There's one that is co-written with my editor, my line editor. She wanted to get into writing, and so we took my main character and her like best friend sidekick, and that's what that series is about. And then the 7 Deadly Sins is another. I only have 1 more to go on that, because I found that even though I started writing this new character a few years ago, which is Georgiana Germain, my readers still really don't they all love like you're the first person they ever read?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to say like, well, she's done. So I was trying to find really creative ways that I could still write other things that I want to write and move on from that, but also still give them bits and pieces of her from time to time. So writing shorter stories has really worked for that. So that's what I've done.
Well, so that's that was gonna be my question to you as well. So how do you decide the timing of releasing the different series that you want to write? Because you do have the main one, like you said, the one that everybody grew up with, and they love that one. And you want to keep writing it because it probably still makes you some money. But do you have other things you want to kind of do some spin-offs?
I've been really shocked with the release coming out yesterday, because it is a pretty short story, and I did nothing to market it, really. I was just like, here, Happy New Year, you guys. I've been surprised. And I thought, I need to be writing these more often. So what I really do is I know when I start a year when the Georgiana Germain books are coming out. I know the exact dates of those 2 books, and I work everything else around them, so that because those 2 deadlines are the hard deadlines. Novellas are like, well, if I get it done really fast, I'll put it out. If it takes a little longer, then I'll put it out. So everything is based around the newer series that I'm writing.
And you're putting out 2 a year, you said, of those.
Yeah, some years it's 2, some years it's 3, just depending on when the first book comes out. And then sometimes I can squeeze in 3 in a year easily if I'm not doing a bunch of other things. But generally I am. So
Gotcha. So I have a question for you. So this is always interesting to find out where people pull this stuff from. So as we all write books and we put a lot of words on paper, we have to come up with lots of names of your main characters are the same, but there's always a whole cast of characters in every book that are new names. Do you have a special method of pulling names? Do you make a short list that you have on hand? Do you have any system?
This is where my OCD is going to shine right now. A couple of things. If I'm being honest, once I know the age of the person, I will type in baby names from 1972, most popular baby. And I'll go through like a list of like maybe 500 names and maybe pull out something like that. And then if I know the type of person that they are, like just kind of what they do in life, a little bit about them, then I kind of try to match that with a surname that would match that type of person. For my newest series, that's not really new, I've been writing it a few years. That main one is Georgiana Germain is her name. And my daughter actually helped me come up with that because I now have 2 grandbabies that are 2 and 4, and they call me Gigi. So Georgiana, really, she's Gigi in the book sometimes, depending on the close people that know her, or Georgiana. So it's a short form of Georgiana. So that's like a special little thing that's in that series.
I just have a character in my new book, Georgiana Ashford. So, Doug, do you have somewhere you pull names from? What's your go-to?
So when I started out, I did it like, what's right next to me? Oh, there's a Maxwell House coffee. I'll go Max, something like that. Nowadays, it's different, especially like I've got a few that I've set in. Like my last book was set in Mexico, so I was like, all right, Mexican names, but I wanted to kind of narrow it down. I actually used ChatGPT, which I just would type in. I want names of males who live in Jalisco State, Puerto Vallarta, who would be 35 years old. And it would spit out like a whole list of them. And then I would just copy them down. And then I would weed out the ones that were stupid, because ChatGPT can sometimes be really stupid. And then I would
Bob.
use those.
Bob was the most popular name in.
It might be.
Yeah.
And it may be. I don't know. But it's like, that's not going to work. No. Yeah. Or, it might be 7 different varieties of Rodrigo. And I was like, yeah, that's, but I've done that. Now I've done some other things, like for the boat that Chase Gordon lives on is named Karina. And that's actually after a dog I lost a few years ago, who was just she was a great dog. And so I kind of wanted to memorialize her. And so she lives forever as his boat. So what more would you love than a boat and a dog? I mean, that's the best,
I've found quite a few by searching, especially when I'm doing foreign nationalities. I search sports teams. So like if it's basketball players or tennis players, and, Wikipedia will come up with a list of the champions over the years or what have you. I've used that quite a bit.
Somebody recommended it not that long ago to me to watch the credits on movies.
Yeah, and pull out names.
Just pull names, because and I was like, that's a brilliant idea. Like there are like 4,000 names right there that we could just pull out. So
Wayne Stinnett told me one time that he goes on Facebook and scrolls down and goes to like the 10th post, and whatever the name is of the person who posted it or mentioned in there, he'll take that name. So he has some men that have the name Shirley, which, because it didn't be, they were the 10th one, but I think it works.
You could also use, I had a friend who used, every time those bots would try to friend me on Facebook or something like that, he goes, oh yeah, I use them and kill them off in the book. My wife thought the same thing. Hey, every time some guy tried to send her a penis picture, that's the one that goes into let's kill him.
Oh, that's a great question. Come on, Cheryl, fess up. Have you killed off people that you really wanted to kill off in your books?
Yes, but they're not they're not the name of the person, because I always say, like, I don't think they deserve to be in my book in any kind of a way. They don't deserve to show up like that. So it might be somebody that's a completely different looking person with a different name, a different age, and then they just have really sweet justice when it comes to the death. Not too fast. They don't have to die off fast like other characters.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Oh, they fell into a wood chipper. Oh, and they didn't all the way through. It's just kind of part way. Yeah.
Be warned, people, don't cross us. You're going to die. You're going to die in a book. I use anagrams, and I've taken 2 names and put them together and stuff like that. So yeah, I've gone after quite a few people. So Cheryl, what's coming up next? You're going to do 2 of your Georgiana series this year. When's the next one coming out?
The next one comes out in May, and hopefully before that, my co-author Jen and we're going to put out, it would be the Sloan Monroe Peril Awaits #5, and then I will also be writing at some point the 7th and the 7 Deadly Sins, and putting that out. So,
do you stop at 7?
Yeah, because there's only 7.
Well, there's 7. What are you going to do? Just add an 8th?
I went to the traditional.
You might be like, she could start all over, like, hey, Seven Deadly Sins 2.
What would be the eighth deadly
idea.
sin? Dithering?
Look,
Stupid ideas?
We talked to Audrey Cole. She had the final hunt, and now she was going to do another one.
Yeah.
And it was like the final hunt.
The final hunt, yeah, the final hunt after the last one.
You can go through that is an idea I hadn't thought of, because they are just quick little books that I can whip out in no time, and they're pretty well received because everybody already knows the character for the most part. And so they kind of sell themselves because of the audience that's already built into them. So very good idea.
Well, James Patterson started off with the whole like nursery rhyme thing, and then he finally was like, I'm out of them. I'm just going to just call it, Triple Cross or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he was doing the, Roses Are Red, Kiss the Girls, and then he ran out of them. He's like, I you know what? Who cares? I'm James Patterson.
Yeah,
Y'all can all kiss my ass. So
you could start combining some of the sins, so you could double up a couple of sins.
Ooh, that's an idea.
To go repeats.
Little sloth and lust.
Sloth lust. That's a meme.
Sloth
I'm pretty
and
sure I've seen that meme on Facebook. Very slow sloth. All right, Doug, get out your toy.
All right. So we have one final question for you from our magic wheel.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
So,
let's see if I can think of a quick
great.
reaction.
Yeah, you don't know what it's going to be. It could be anything. Because I just changed up a few of these. Ooh, that was a good spin too. If you could have any superpower, what would you do?
I would totally be a witch. Like I would have magical.
Oh my God, that was instantaneous too, wasn't it? I'm a witch.
That is the next series I want to write, when I feel like I've been plotting it out, but for a long time, and I just haven't done it. Like
a Samantha, Sabrina kind of witch, or like the ones that run around in the woods, with their boobs out, sacrificing things.
Wait, they do? I need to watch some witch movies.
It's kind of like Twin Peaks meets Veronica Mars type witch. She solves a witch that maybe could solve murder. So he still could be murder mystery with like a magical kind of. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to do magic potions and then put spells on people. 100%.
Well, this was brilliant, Cheryl. Thank you. Welcome back. Welcome to America again. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
What a lovely lady. She's so cool.
Isn't she great?
She's so nice. I've met her a couple of times at Nick now, and I know you've hung out with her and the little gang that she's in, the little conference gang.
Make it sound like they're like going to go out and like fight the other gangs or something like that.
Yeah, head to head, little knuckle dusters and stuff like that.
Jillian Dodd and Jen. And
I would not put anything past
with
Jillian.
Diane Capri at the very back. Oh, Jillian.
Or Jen. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, my gosh, yes, they're.
Yeah, so there's. I think what they get up to at these conferences needs to stay unsaid. Otherwise, the witch will be on the floor again. That's what'll happen.
That's quite fun. So, yeah.
Hey, you know what this is?
I heard that this is the last episode of our season.
How ridiculous is that? We've been doing this a year.
1 year.
A year.
I know.
There's virtually nothing I stick to for a year.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. I've enjoyed it for a year. I think it's been so much fun hanging out with you and bullshitting with people who are willing to come on and talk to us. So.
That amazes me. We've had some people who we have no right to us to come on the show who've agreed to come on the show.
Like Cheryl Bradshaw.
Cheryl Bradshaw,
I mean, just amazing. Yeah. So, no, actually, that's not true. We've gotten, we got to know some great people doing this. It's been a lot of fun.
And learned a lot. I feel like we learned a lot. I mean, if you're listening to this, you're probably like, you don't sound like you've learned anything to me, but I feel like we've learned some stuff, and we've tuned up the show a little bit and made it a little punchier and concise. I think it's good. Ready to dive into season 2. We're going to keep going.
I am. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. So, and who knows what we're going to do next season? I think we have a whole nother year between now and season 3. So I figure it'll be exciting.
It will be. It's going to be good. And we're going to make a couple of little tweaks to the show. We've got some great guests coming up, and we're going to direct it a little bit more with our guests have got so much experience to share, and they're on their path to success, how they've done that. So we're going to gear a few more of the questions that might be helpful to budding authors out there or successful authors. I learned something from everybody we have on the show.
That's absolutely true. Yes, it's been great.
Yeah, and I wouldn't. I hate to call us accomplished, but we're both making a living writing books. So
we are accomplished. Self-deprecation is bad for you. You should know that.
Well, I'm British. We have to. It's what we do.
I mean, that and you take over the world in other places. Like you just plant your
we
flag
used to do that. We don't do that anymore. We play nicely. They made us give most of it back after WW2. So we don't do that anymore. We play nice. Other countries are doing that, but we're not. Anyway, so
that's true.
What has been exciting in your world, Doug?
Wow. Well, I mean, I'm on a downhill run trying to meet some deadlines to finish up Red Light at Night, which is the next Chase Gordon book. So that's going to be exciting. It comes out on March 1st.
But where did you just come back from?
Oh, I was getting ready to say, the most fun was I was doing some research, and my wife and I went down to Colombia and spent a week in Cartagena to research the next Corsair novel.
Not South Carolina, people. Cartagena, South America.
Yeah, they have signs everywhere that say it's Colombia, not Colombia. Yeah, so there's two O's, not an O and a U. So
I screwed it up and spelt it wrong in a book one time, and someone corrected me.
I'm gonna have to be careful as I keep spelling Cartagena wrong. So that's also yes, it's always fun. Yeah, but no, it was so much fun. I mean, the Colombian people were amazing. It was it's such a beautiful city, and there's a lot of interesting things that go on there, and there's not a lot of English, so that was also fun. Like, listening to Cheryl talk about trying to go someplace where English is that was not the case. I was my poor pidgin Spanish struggled, but I managed to order a lot of mojitos and never starved.
There you go.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So how about you, sir? What have you been up to?
Well, as you mentioned at the intro, Lighthouse Point just came out, and it's it's kind of a passion project for me, honestly, because it involves diving and the other timelines in 1970 motor racing stuff. So it was just a joy for me to write, and it's been interesting, the response. So it's been a little polarized. There's some people that are just like, oh, it's too much car racing in it, and I think it's just one of those switches. Some people are it's not out of line with what I normally write with the A.J. Bailey series at all. And, but it just happens to be that subject matter. And some people just aren't interested necessarily in that subject matter.
So what I hear is those people are wrong, because I've read your stuff. It's brilliant. I like the car racing, and I don't even like car racing. So,
well, I hope I've written it in a way that if people who aren't interested in car racing will see, it's like many other, a lot of non-divers read about the diving in the A.J. Bailey books, and they enjoy it.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be a diver. You don't have to be a car racing fan. It's, I think the story has a good backbone that carries it, but I'm really proud of it, and I enjoyed writing it a lot. The A.J. Bailey fans have been really nice, really complimentary, and so it's going well. It's been my best launch yet.
And I have to say, I will say, your if anybody follows you on Facebook, and if you're not following Nick on Facebook, you really should. He has the best pictures most of the time. Although you haven't done a lot of diving lately, so
I know we got to get out to Catalina and get diving here.
But man, he's got some new ads up that show AJ, and those pictures perfect for what I would imagine her to look like. So I was like,
Took a long time to get that, but it's how I picture her in my mind. But they're perfect. Yeah,
I'm telling you, she's my little book crush right there. Nora's too young for me, so I got.
Yeah, that would be a bit awkward, huh? That would be a bit weird.
So is she 20? Yeah.
She's 20 now.
Imagine?
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I would like to know what Nora's favorite Beatles song is.
She'd just look at you and walk away.
I'm just saying. See, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine? She'd be like, the Beatles. Yeah, that'd be yeah. So AJ probably has a good Beatles song. I'm figuring Obla Di Obla Da, but I could be wrong.
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. You knew she grew up in a household that played the Beatles, so she'd have one. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for supporting our show. It means a lot to us. And we made it through a season 1. So tune back in for season 2. And thanks again to Cheryl for coming on. And check out the show notes for links to our books, social media, and our guest information. Look for new episodes every 2 weeks.
Absolutely. So, and until then, that's you.
Be cool to each other.
And fair winds and following seas.
You've been listening to the Two Authors Chat Show with Nicholas Harvey and Douglas Pratt.